Hello viewers, we have a massive set of updates coming for Gran Turismo 7. I thought the game was on the brink of death, but clearly not. So we have a massive Spec 3 update first of all, and then we have the first paid DLC of Gran Turismo 7, which is the Power Pack. And I was in Los Angeles recently at the World Series event. I was able to play the update. I was able to see some extra hidden things as well. For example, a Spec Mode, which is potentially returning. So we're going to dive into all the information you need to know. As ever, there's timestamps down below if you want to skip to something specific. Okay, the release date. So for the Power Pack, it's officially December the 4th. Spec 3 doesn't officially have a release date as of yet. However, if you look at the trailer for the Power Pack, it does include a lot of the stuff that's in Spec 3. So I'm guessing they're going to go hand in hand and they're going to be released at the same time. Also, there is going to be a time trial for the new Polestar 5 car. And because the winner gets a free trip to Japan for the World Series finals, 20th and 21st of December, given that most time trials are 2 weeks, this would probably have to mean it starts early in December. So December 4th is looking like the date for both. So we'll get to the Power Pack later on in this video. I mean, the timestamp is here if you want to see that. But let's first talk about the Spec 3 update. As I said, I was in Los Angeles. I was able to play some of this update, including one of the 2 tracks that's going to be added. So first up, 2 new circuits, and they're both Formula 1 tracks, the Yas Marina circuit and the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the Montreal circuit in Canada. So I was able to play Yas Marina. It looks spectacular, as you'd probably expect. Played it at night, looks really good, especially with the Ferrari 296. And it is, of course, the modern, up-to-date layout of the track. And on the question of layouts, we all know that Yas Marina has sort of lots of short versions. I couldn't see that any of those were available in the game. That doesn't mean that they won't be, but I couldn't see them on the version I played. So we'll have to wait and see if the short versions are available. And then the second track is Montreal in Canada. So our second Canadian track in the game. And I really like this addition. I think there were rumours about this about 2 years ago, but it's good to see that it's finally being added. So when I was in LA, I did try and see if this was available to try and play, but sadly it wasn't. So we're going to have to wait until the release of this update. Next up on the update is 8 new cars, 6 of which we know, 2 of which we don't. So of course the Ferrari 296, this is a very popular car. Max Verstappen is racing this car this year at the Nürburgring, and I think this one will go down pretty well. We then have the Gran Turismo F3500B, so it's a kind of a fictional car, but it's based on, let's say, early 2000s Formula 1. The Mitsubishi FTO, this is kind of a classic Gran Turismo car, so good to see that. We have a Mainz Nissan R34 GTR. Then we have a new manufacturer debuting in the game, that's the Polestar 5. And during the live event, they teased a very cool car, the Renault Espace F1. This is a classic Gran Turismo car. Really cool to see that coming back. So that leaves 2 cars that we don't know about. And I'm just looking at the cover of the Power Pack, and I'm just wondering if these 2 cars might be the other 2. Not 100% on this, but we've got this VW and what looks like a Porsche. So whether or not these are the extra 2 cars, I don't know. But the 6 cars that we do know, I'm happy with that list. I think it's a really good set of cars, and I can't wait to drive them. So next up, we have a change to the maximum collector level. At the moment, as it stands right now, it's 50. And you reach that well before you buy all of the cars. But it looks as though they're going to change that to 70. Now, I can't confirm if it's definitely going to be 70, but it looks like the bar is full on this image, and therefore that is the new maximum level. We have Dunlop Tyres being added into the game. We have a data logger. Now, this is a really interesting mode. I was able to play this quite extensively at the event and get a proper insight. It looks really in-depth. I really like the look of this data logger mode. I'll definitely make a different video about this once it is released, but data logging is essentially looking back at your telemetry and data of your best laps to work out how to go faster. So you can effectively compare your laps and see the different racing lines, see where you're losing time, see where you're gaining time, see your brake and throttle traces. And by doing that, you can definitely learn about how to go faster. So I'm not going to go into detail about that now, but after looking at that at the event, I was quite impressed, and I think this will be a really good tool for anyone to get faster, as long as you understand what the data means. And this is a different way of getting quicker, and I really like this addition. We then have unlimited car invitations in Brand Central. And if you look at this image, basically what they mean is there is no expiry date. As it stands right now, you have 30 days to buy the car in question before it expires, and then you have to get that invitation again. So yeah, no expiry date. Don't know about you guys, but it's taken me about 5 billion attempts to try to get this Citroen invite. Still haven't got it. So I'm really hoping they can change the luck percentage of me getting that. We then have enhanced weekly challenges. And the image they provided to represent this is as follows. So as you can see with these 3 events on the left, it says limited time online event. So this is what the main change is. as far as I can see. Normally these events are just single player events and you just play them against AI. However, this is online. I don't know exactly what the implication is of that. But the one on the left is a time trial, what looks like Brands Hatch first sector. You've got to get a bronze medal. The second one is getting a bronze medal for 1 lap of Watkins Glen. As to why that's online, as I said, I don't know. Maybe you're playing into an online leaderboard and you have to get within a certain percentage, just like the normal online time trials. So you have to wait and see exactly what that is, but it's nice to see that it's freshened up a little bit. Okay, and then the typical stuff that we get in most updates, new opening movie. Well, I mean, that's not typical, actually. We had a new one in Spec II, which came out November 2023, so 2 years ago. So we get a new opening movie, new menu books, and new events in Circuit Experience. I mean, obviously, Yas Marina and Montreal would just be added. New scapes. And then a very important point here, which should not be glossed over, improvements to online races. This could be something really minor, like they've just changed the coding and it just loads a bit better. But at the same time, it could be an overhaul. We really don't know. They haven't gone into much detail at all. There's quite a few things in the power pack, which I'll get to in a moment, but we've got 24-hour races coming and we've got progress through practice, qualifying and into a race as well. So it may well include those sorts of features. So I have to wait and see on that, but I am very excited for it. And one more thing that caught my eye when I was in Los Angeles, and that is a B-Spec mode. Now, there's no mention of a B-Spec mode in this list. Now, it does say here more details to follow, so maybe there's more things to come. But when I was in Los Angeles, I was playing this different version of the game with the update, and I couldn't help but notice that when I paused the game, it said B-Spec. So I tried it, clicked on it, and lo and behold, the car started driving for me. And this looks very much like the return of a B-Spec mode. Whether or not this is coming in this update, I don't know. They haven't announced it properly. But it is quite an exciting development if it were to come back, especially when you combine this with the endurance races that are coming back in the Power Pack. Let's move on then to the Power Pack DLC. This is the first paid DLC in Gran Turismo 7. And in their words, it will focus on real-world racing experiences. So if you go to the main menu, there's going to be a new ship at the bottom. Click on it and you will be sent to the Power Pack. And that looks something like this. So it's completely separate from the existing missions, world circuits and licenses. It's a completely separate thing. And I think it's important to say that this is only for PlayStation 5 users, not for PS4 users at all. So yeah, within this Power Pack, we have this new mode, 50 events. As you can see, 16 prizes. Now within this, we get some hints as to a couple of things, as you see with the cars within each of the images. When you look at the Power Pack details, and it says 6 distinctive themes, featuring intense 24-hour races. Now, some of the races they feature in the trailer are GT3 cars around the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and also Group C cars around Le Mans. So it'd be my guess that those are possibly some of the 24-hour races that are going to be in this pack. And you can see some of the themes here that they seem to have included on this list. So yeah, Group C around Le Mans, Nürburgring Group 3 they make a reference to, a Civic race in the 90s, and then the Japan GT500 cars in the 90s as well. Now, very quickly, on the note of 24-hour races, if we cast our mind back to March 2022, this was the month that the game came out. You may well remember the game released in an interesting state. It wasn't quite up to the levels that many of us were expecting. They outlined here that they were going to take the opportunity to lay out some of the near-term updates we are working on. And this did include the addition of more endurance races to missions, including 24-hour races. Now, some of the other features here have been added to the game, but the endurance races never were added until, I guess, this point. They're not going to be added into the missions part of the game. They're going to be added into the Power Pack, and it is behind a paywall. So I was always curious as to when those 24-hour races were coming, and it turns out that's going to be now, although in a slightly different format than what they've said. I just thought it'd be interesting to put that out because some of you might remember that from 3 years ago. Now, the next thing here is experience a full race season that includes practice, qualifying, and the main event. So we have this image here showing a progress, practice, qualifier 10 minutes, and then a race of 5 laps. And this is within the Power Pack, as you can see, All Japan GT Championship. So that is more than just a single race. You're going to be racing multiple races. So from this, I'm presuming there's going to be championship points. This is nothing new. Championship points, that is in the current game. But yeah, this is definitely a different type of progression. There's also this screen here, which shows a practice session going underway around the Nürburgring Nordschleife with 16 cars showing all the sectors. I suppose the interesting thing to note here is you've got these 3 arrows here, which I guess would be to fast forward the time. And then you've got the green arrow, which I guess would be to skip towards the next session. In this case, would be qualifying. Now, to go back quickly to the online improvements, which we don't really know too much about, it could perhaps include these sorts of features with the qualifying and then the race, rather than doing the time trial format that we currently have for sport mode. But that is just speculation on my part, and I would love to know what you think the online improvements are going to be. The next point is Sophie 3.0, engage in close quarters battles with Gran Turismo Sophie 3.0. Now, for reference, Sophie 2.0 came out in the Spec 2 update 2 years ago, and it's been rolled out slowly across an increasing amount of the tracks in the game. Not all of them yet, but most of them. Now, I didn't get an insight into exactly what this is. My guess, or my hope, would be that Sophie would now be able to deal with strategy a little bit better. So let's say multiple tyre compounds, maybe even wet weather racing. So while Sophie is very quick, very intelligent, very good to race against, there is a sort of one-dimensional nature to it in terms of how they race. So I'd like to see a bit more depth, and hopefully Sophie 3.0 will give us that extra strategy with tyre changes and that kind of thing. And that gets me onto the subject of the price of this DLC. We don't have a price currently. Now, some people are speculating that because you get 5 million credits, if you go up here and click on top up PlayStation Store, you can buy 2 million credits for £16. I think that's $20 US dollars. So if you convert that to 5 million, it's about £40 or $50 US dollars. Some people are saying that therefore the DLC must be more than that. But honestly, I'd be surprised if it's much more than £15, $20. I think that's about the price it should be. If it starts getting towards $30 or $40, I think it's probably too much. If I had to guess right now what the price will be, I would say maybe even $15.99 or $20, which is, I guess, the same price as 2 million credits. So as you can tell, a massive update, and one that I definitely cannot wait for. I think this definitely revitalizes Gran Turismo 7 because the game was getting a little bit stale. Now that it's 3.5 years old, it's not a new game. And you know what? I'm thankful to Polyphony for still continuing to believe in the game and keep adding content. I'm actually really excited. I know it's a paid DLC, but I'm more than happy to pay if it's a decent price. And I also can't wait to play the new tracks for the Spec 3. So yeah, December the 4th. Cannot come soon enough. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.